I'm astrologer and life coach Penny Dix. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. And if you're new here, welcome to you too. So here we have the overview for all the astrological energies of November 2022. Destiny beckons. This is a month to express your feelings, speak your truth, trust your inner guidance. I will explain more. But remember, this overview has all the links in the description box for the heads up on each of your individual zodiac signs, plus the tarot card of the month. And I will be doing a tarot card for the month ahead overview in this short video. So how are you all? How's it going? Because I mean, whoa, what extraordinary times we've been going through. I have to say that I'm recording this on Friday, the 21st of October, and we're in the midst of another leadership challenge for the United Kingdom for Prime Minister. Now, I have no idea what the ultimate result of that will be. I have my views, and if you're watching this before my video comes out looking at the candidates, then you may already know. Anyway, whatever is happening, it's bringing extraordinary change. And I think that because this month we are now fully into the energy of both Saturn, my big outer boy Saturn, our planet of constraint, restraint, rules, law, and Pluto, our planet of transformation, they're now going direct. Pluto went direct on the 8th of October, and Saturn went direct on the 23rd of October. So I think what we're going to find is that we should notice the energies shifting just up into a rather higher gear, from everything seemingly out of our control to being that we have got some input into the outcomes of the difficulties we've recently been facing. As I'm saying this, I'm just wondering whether actually we might have a general election before Christmas. Now, I'm really in the United Kingdom. I'm really putting myself on the line there, and I have no idea, but it just popped into my head as I look at the energies. So what else have we got going on? Because even though we've still got this hard square between Saturn and Uranus, remember Uranus is about freedom. It's about rebellion. It's about thinking outside the box. Saturn is about restraint, slowing down, saying, let's look at all the details. Let's take our time. So we should feel that because that square is now opening up, so Saturn is now in a direct motion forward, so we won't be quite so caught in the tension that Saturn-Uranus square is causing. I think we should feel that our patience that we've really had to exert over the last few months, we can begin to see the signs that that will pay off. And I think where we need to not take our eye off the ball is with the energies of retrograde Mars in Gemini. Now, I've talked about Mars before, and Mars, remember, is our god of action, energy. It's the body, it's the physical body. It's also sexuality. And Mars is about getting things done quickly. Mars is speedy. Now, Mars in a square in Gemini, right, to Neptune in Pisces, and Mars currently retrograde in Gemini. This is making Mars slow down. Mars isn't going to like this because Mars, as I say, wants speedy action and speedy results. Gemini is about communication. It's about thinking. So we have to ask ourselves, what do we actually need to slow down and try and see through the kind of Neptunian mists that Neptune is kind of bringing up to find the truth of a matter, whether that's personally or whether that's on the world stage. And because Jupiter is now retrograde in Pisces, and it's closing in on a conjunction, that's a real tight up conjunction with Neptune. So it's also being squared by Mars. Now, what is this going to suggest? Well, I think because Jupiter is up close and personal with Neptune, it's expanding the kind of confusion. So this is the kind of downside of what's going on. On another kind of way of looking at it is that Jupiter is expanding the intuitive qualities of Neptune, that Mars is itching to take action on. My sense, though, is that this is a time for just standing and observing, seeing what is actually going to unfold, because it is tricky energy. We're going to have this energy on and off for quite a while. And remember, Mars is staying retrograde until I think it's the 12th of January. So we have quite a long time of Mars moving backwards. You might feel you've tried to start things and you just have to keep going back and, you know, correcting mistakes, seeing what you've missed out. So just bear that in mind. I think also we might see, and we'll probably see this in the realms of politics, angry, inflated talk, which is perhaps not based in reality. I mean, today, as I say, 21st of October, I cannot only begin to imagine the kind of talk going on in Westminster. By the time this video comes out, it might all be a bit clearer, but there will be a lot of misleading information doing the rounds, and it's about cutting through the kind of relevant crap to find the alchemical gold, because that's what one has to do. So personally, if you find yourself falling into kind of inflated reactions and seeing things kind of out of proportion and not clearly, you need to consciously lean towards the energy from Mars that is trining Saturn. So you work with that Mars to Saturn trine, because that is urging us to recognize that restraint pays off. It reminds us that everything is about timing. And talking about timing, we have a very powerful full moon total lunar eclipse in the sign of Taurus, conjunct Uranus on the 8th. And just to remind you that eclipse energies can last many months, so that whatever is in the news headlines around leading up to this time, so where I'm sitting today, that would be the shenanigans in the UK Parliament. And also we've got the kind of nefarious kind of dealings and affairs that are going on in Eastern Europe, with it really not clear what's happening with Ukraine and what's happening with you know, whether any movement is happening in a positive way for Zelensky in Ukraine. But whatever is in the news headlines will get played out over the next few months. So how is, if we're looking at world events, how is the planet going to fare? Well, the first thing I want to mention is that, and I'm not an expert on American politics or voting or anything like that, but this full moon lunar eclipse falls on the date, 8th of November for the midterm elections in the United States. You will have to go over to my partner in crime, Conscious Medium Brandon Russ's channel to find out perhaps a more detailed insight into how this full moon lunar eclipse will affect the American elections. But I think that we're likely to experience powerful changes and shocks because Uranus in Taurus is conjunct the eclipse. And remember, Uranus upsets everything. It just is dramatic. It's about freedom. And the other thing we might see with this eclipse, because remember, you've got the full moon energy, the gravitational pull on the Earth's crust is much stronger when we have full moons and eclipses. So we might see more dramatic weather. I know Australia has had some quite significant flooding, and we might see earthquakes or even volcanic eruptions because they all come under the domain of Uranus. But the other thing I'm curious about is how the Russian leader is going to fare with this energy, because the eclipse is conjunct his natal Venus. Now, what this tells me is that his attraction to his own people is seriously waning and overshadowed, if indeed he's still in power then, because he has the October the 5th partial new moon solar eclipse on his Scorpio ascendant. So we're going to have to sort of see how that unfolds. And myself and Brandon Russ did a Whiskey and Bagels episode yesterday, which is up on my YouTube channel now, where we looked quite in depth at Putin's chart, Zelensky's chart, Trump's chart, Boris Johnson, Penny Mordaunt. We had a good old kind of rummage through these charts to see if we could get to the root of what's going on. So, you know, check those out. So, but whatever happens around this eclipse, it's going to set the tone for the whole of November. And I think also with this month, we're still going to see, I'm afraid, more dramatic swings with currencies and stock markets. Because I do think, apart from what's been going on in the UK, and certainly if the UK decides to call in a general election, whoa, that is going to sort of destabilise things again. I think if they want to do that, they should wait until there's a little bit more stability in the markets. And or whether that can happen without an election, I don't know. Again, I'm not an expert. But we are going to see still these economic difficulties that we've all been facing for quite some time. And it is going to be a tough winter for most people in differing ways. You know, I could say I'm blessed living in the Mediterranean because we don't have cold winters. But interestingly, the humidity is very high here, maybe because it's an island. I guess, yes, because it's an island. So what happens, in fact, is that the damp is enormous. So that inside, and because we have these limestone walls, they hold all the moisture. So in fact, it can feel bitterly cold. And we don't have central heating. Not that anyone in Europe's going to be able to afford to switch their heating on this winter. And I mean, it really is a very serious situation. And I don't think we can underestimate it. So yes, the planetary aspects still show there's quite a lot for the world in general to sort out. But where's the good news? I hear you cry. Because the significant changes this month, it's like, it is autumn moving into winter. And, you know, in some ways, November in many parts of Northern Europe and the Northern Hemisphere is very much winter with snow and everything. But it's like it's a month of clearing the way for positive growth. It's like pruning a tree, because if you prune a tree, you get good growth. The dead wood in the world needs to be recycled. How is this going to affect you personally? Well, we're in Scorpio season until the 22nd, when the sun will move, of course, into Sagittarius. There's a lot of cosmic activity in Scorpio this month. We've got not only the sun there, but we've got Venus, our planet of relationship. But Venus is not good in Scorpio. It's a bit, it dulls its shine a bit. It dulls its ability to attract. And Mercury, our planet of communication, is also here. And we have, of course, the South Node. And at various times, they will all be opposing Uranus and thus squaring Saturn as well. Now, what this can have the effect of, and remember, I'm now talking about you personally and your situation and your family and relationships. It can bring secrets out in the open. It can also bring inventive ideas, sudden change. And if I remind you of what the Scorpio nature is like, Scorpio, of course, is ruled by transformative Pluto. And this transformative energy can bring endings and beginnings. But remember, when I talk about endings, and that full moon on the 8th could bring significant endings. Whatever leaves your life, and I say this many times, it is time for it to go. Because without whatever it is leaving your life, the new can't get in. I think it's always important to remember that. Now, Mars, that is retrograde in Gemini, co-rules Scorpio. And Mars, of course, brings in the sexuality side and that kind of direct, dynamic interaction. Scorpio is private and secretive. And in a sense, it represents the collective shadow. And Scorpio, of course, is fixed by nature. And I think it's always worth remembering not to cross a Scorpio, because they will take you down, even if it means they go down too, because they just want you to know that they always win. So it can be quite a self-destructive energy if used in that kind of shadow way. But the other interesting thing with this Scorpio energy is, of course, it brings in passion. And it brings passion to your relationships, because we've got Venus there as well. So it brings passion and love into relationships. And I think it's because people are going to be more inclined to take risks, as if to say, life's short, let's have some fun. And it may be that because of what's going on outside in the world, which is all it's just been like this, hasn't it, since the beginning of 2020, really. So, you know, we're still just going through, like, my God, what next? And, you know, in a sense, we may all feel like we need a little bit of escapism this month, that fantasy and dreams are more fun than real life. So I really feel it's important to trust your intuition, because this month your intuition will be spot on, because Jupiter, our planet of expansion, it rules Sagittarius. It's about truth. But Jupiter is also, it's about that kind of higher octave, higher vibration of consciousness. And Jupiter, even though it doesn't go exactly conjunct to Neptune in Pisces, gets pretty close. And what that is telling us, because Jupiter is expanding that sense of spirituality that we all have. And I think what it's doing is it's reminding us that we need to, in a sense, see the bigger picture and see the bigger spiritual picture. Because it has, every now and then we have to be reminded that there's more to life than just the material side and people's egos. But my final thoughts before I do the card, the tarot card for the month ahead. There's a real potential this month for the healing of old wounds. And I do feel if we take risks based on our gut feelings, our intuition, they will pay off. Right, so shall we find a card for the month of November? Now I've gone back to using my smaller pack, my more manageable pack, so I don't throw them all over the floor like I did in October. And this really is much easier to use. It's the Rider-Waite, in case you're new here and you haven't seen this video that I do for the month ahead. So let's just give some vibes in. We want to know, it's that one, how November is going to be. Oh, okay, here we go. Well, I think that's super interesting. We have the Wheel of Fortune. And that actually, interestingly, does fit in with the astrology. Because if you remember, I said at the beginning that we should be going in a new direction. We don't quite know what direction it is we're going in, but the energies are shifting because of that Saturn and Pluto going direct. So I just feel this is actually very significant because I think the changes that can come in will be, certainly it'll be sort of forging new paths. So it's a little bit of like voyaging into the unknown. But what's for certain is we won't be going back to where we've been before. So whatever is happening, whether it's politically on the world stage, whatever it is that is happening in your personal lives, nothing is going to remain the same because there is always the certainty in life of change. And you can help that change. And I've said this many times, that if you keep on doing what you've always done, you always get what you've always got. So this month, make changes, see things differently, drive a different way to the shops, anything like that that is just, you know, walk a different way to the bus stop. Anything that kind of shifts and changes your energy. Have tea instead of coffee. It's even just little things like that, because what you're doing is giving little signals out to the universe that you're ready for things to shift and change in your own life. So there we are, the Wheel of Fortune. Interesting. So on that note, I will say thank you so much for joining me for the overview. Please go and check out your individual sun signs and rising signs. That's also known as the ascendant. And as I say, they are all time-stamped in the description box. And in the meantime, thank you so much for joining me. Please remember to like, comment and subscribe. As you know, I do my best to answer as many comments and questions as I possibly can. And because I find it so interesting and I love hearing from you all. And I really appreciate that you are appreciative of what I'm doing, because I love doing it. It's my passion. So on that note, please remember to like, comment and subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.